This video, like every video on the channel, is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com. If you want to pick up some magic product, get 5% off your first order with a link in the description below. And also, not bringing you the video as such, but this video is going to be in support of the Trevor project. I'll talk a bit more about that later. There'll be a link for that in the description below as well. Okay, this video is going to be very political, and by political I mean it's going to talk about human beings that simply want to exist. So that's your warning. If you cannot deal with real world issues and want to bury your head in the sand, you can leave the video now. This is Bear Scape. What it does in game as a functional magic card is not important to this video. That's right, we're going real politics now, baby. It was recently redone for a secret Lair drop called Pride Across the Multiverse to look like this. This shows a load of masculine, decidedly masculine men engaging in, well, a hot tub. There's an axe. Two men are lovingly pushing their foreheads to one another. Another one in the background sits cradling maybe the other one's head and talking to them. It shows gay men romantically being involved, which is something we've never seen on a magic card before. This is part of the Pride Across the Multiverse, which is a celebration of LGBTQIA2+ communities. Except for the Soul Ring, I believe. I don't really understand how the Soul Ring fits into that, but I could be wrong. Like I said, this is a big deal because we haven't seen these depictions of romantic affection between gay people ever on a magic card before. We've been told characters are gay. We've been hinted that characters are gay, and they've been retconned later in novels. This is the first time we've seen Tomik and Rao kiss, as far as I know. And we've got a card called Collective Voyage in the gay secret lair showing Nissa and Chandra, further solidifying the fact that they are gay. And then we've got Heartbeat of Spring as well. We've got Sahili and Huatli. It's confirming that they're a couple, something that people had sort of shipped and believed before, but was never concrete. But of course, with anything coming that is not hetero, not heteronormative, there is some controversy. People are claiming that this Bear Scape in particular, this is the card that everyone's upset with, is sexualizing gay men. Or in the words of many misguided men who've never felt the love of another human being, that it's sexualizing big, fat, hairy dudes. And this would be okay, according to them, if it were not for the double standards of not being allowed to sexualize women in magic art. There is a fucking lot to unpack here, so buckle up and I'll do my best considering the fact that I am a straight man, so bear with me. First of all, the inherent sexualization of men within this art, I'm just not convinced it's sexual. We have had a ton of examples of hot tubs in the past. These two demons have been bathing together in a cauldron. Here we see another demon bathing in the sulphurous hot springs of Sulphur Springs. Here we have another spring, a hot spring this time, but with no people inside. Rather inviting. Don't think it's actually that sexual, if I'm honest. Invigorating Hot Springs depicts a monkey in hot water cleaning itself, which of course is incredibly sexual, and I can't believe you've done this, wizards. Swift Water Cliffs has a version with multiple monkeys, which is just fucking hideous. How dare they? Urza's Hot Tub, perhaps one of the most prominent examples of a hot tub. We even see some cleavage here. Won't somebody think of the children? And Deep Root Waters shows merfolk fish people in water together, which is just perverted. If you can't get it from the joke and the tone, I don't believe people being in a hot tub is inherently sexual. It would be disingenuous to say this card is not gay coded. Hell, it's overtly gay coded. It literally works off the back of a colloquial term. The pun here is Bearscape, a bear being a colloquial term for a body type that in gay men communities. And it's very difficult to look at this art and not see romantic interactions, and evidently gay romantic interactions. Again, it's just very gay coded. It's in the Pride Across the Multiverse secret lair. And those people that are saying this is sexualization upon a magic card in a children's card game, which is full of violence and blood and gore, but have you ever stopped to think, why do you think this is sexual? What is it about hot tubs themselves that make them inherently sexual? Have you never been in a hot tub with a friend or family member? Hot tubs are not little hot water pits of sex and sin. It's been pretty fucking normal to be in one of these with your friends and not romantically involved with them or sex them up. Anecdotally, I've been in a hot tub with my wife, who I do have sex with, but not in the hot tub, in a public situation with another hot tub nearby with strangers in it. It's just, hot tubs aren't inherently a fuck place. It is weird that people are seeing it that way, that the perspective of the heteronormative people who are engaging in this rhetoric of it being a sexualization of the game are somehow finding sex in something that isn't inherently sexual. That says more about the individual than it does about the card art itself. There is an element of the male gaze that codifies everything by its own experience and thusly sees everything as a potentially pornographic encounter. But look at these people here. Is this sexual? Is this pornographic in any way? These are just two people I think it's 2 people, I grabbed stock footage after the fact, but it's people in a fucking hot tub. I know for a fact there are literally videos and B-roll of children in hot tubs, but I'm not going to put them here to really push the point, because that'd be fucking ridiculous. Look, I'm pretty sex positive, I'm pretty pro-pornography for the most part, but sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, lads. So what is it that makes this Bear Scape sexual? Well, it's because it's gay men, isn't it? I've spoken at length to a couple of gay friends about this. I've got a quote from one of them a little bit later. But primarily the problem here is that we have a cis heteronormative portion of the population constantly reducing non-hetero people down to their sexuality and sexual acts. It is not as simple as man loves man. It's some obsession with what happens behind the scenes. That obsession might be that you're curious or that you don't want to see it flaunted in your face or pushed down your throat, even if it's just them romantically cuddling in a hot pool. Again, I'm just going to use this B-roll here. Is this hetero couple? Are they pushing it down your throat? No. I don't fucking think so. There is a stereotype in media that I believe to be fading but still exists of the predatory and overtly sexual gay man. It is the idea that they don't exist simply like a straight man would, but instead they constantly pursue sexual gratification even with straight men. It's a source of 90s and noughties gross out humour. We've all seen, I don't know, your American Pies, your road trips, your Euro trips where there's some sort of gay alternative character. Normally, in one of them is European. European gay men are normally stigmatized even further, and they are like a predator to be avoided. This gets worse when you move outside of like gay men and you move into like trans and non-cis people as well. J.K. Rowling and her ilk are obsessed with the idea that trans women are fetishizing womanhood and only look to make the changes that they do in order to satisfy some sexual urge. It is wild to me that people in such positions of power and wealth will go out of their way to dictate what other people are thinking or feeling, with no regard to their lived experiences or what they say about the situation, and that often comes down to this weird obsession with sex. It's always sex. It's fucking unhealthy. Joanna, get some help. And that brings us back to Bear Scape. I believe the thing that makes this inherently sexual or an example of sexualization in some people's eyes is that it's gay men. This is a heteronormative bias propped up by trends and stereotypes in media, attributing everything gay men do as a sexual act. They can't just be chilling and being romantically involved with their partner. They've got to be fucking. And if people claim that it's not the fucking, if they claim it's like a thirst trap thing, well, thirst traps have existed in Magic for a long time. Look at Oko. Look at Circle of the Moon Druid for recent examples. There's a strong argument that neither of these cards are inherently sexual in any way, but they are certainly sexualized by people. People went fucking mad for Pixie Twink Oko when he was revealed. The thirst online was very, very real. But we didn't see the conservative side of the community lose their fucking minds collectively like we did with Bearscape. I wonder why. I'm joking, I don't wonder why. It's the gayness. They're upset about the overt gayness of it all. But they say it's a hypocrisy that we can't sexualize women, but we can sexualize men, and that's not fair. It's almost like a prejudice towards men. Okay, sure, that's fucking wild. Let's talk a moment about objectification, the male gaze, and the hobby in which we all partake. Magic is predominantly a male hobby by quite a huge margin. We see this in event turnouts and audience breakdowns and similar. It is changing slowly for the better, I believe and feel. We see more women at events as time goes on. There is active members of the community. We see a lot of women content creators. This is nothing but good for the game. But we do still have an ongoing undercurrent of this idea that is not welcoming for non-men. We've all heard the first-hand experiences of the anecdotes of the minor microaggressions of like, did your boyfriend build that deck? Did he teach you to play? The weird leers, the staring, the uncomfortable elements of having a load of nerds and people from the fringe of society, which is what Magic attracts. I'm one of those people too. But well, they haven't had the opportunity to talk to people like this before, so they struggle to do so. Yeah. At 1GP a couple of years back, we had some titty altars on a, sorry to explain titty altars. Titty altars are Lilianas where they've been altered to have their tits fully out. Like huge mammoth boobies, nipple out, voluptuous titties. It's not empowerment for the woman, it's definitely for men to lick their lips over, shall we say. And the vendor got told they couldn't have them out, they kept putting them back out, and the vendor was ejected from the venue eventually, the person trying to sell these titty altars among other cards at the venue. There was a lot of outcry about this on social media because people were trying to act like, you know, sex is not a big problem, what's the issue? There was this fucking meme where someone said that Galta, that's right, the dinosaur from Ikoria, Galta has her tits out, so why can't Liliana? And it was all just disingenuous shit because no one could come to terms with the idea that it was the male gaze, that it was the objectification objectification of women, it was for men by men. Hentai girls painted on your fucking islands. A Hago, or I've never said this word out loud, I realised today. A Hago sleeves, or a playmat depicting your favourite planeswalkers scissoring to completion. None of this breeds the safest or most comfortable situation for women to be involved in. And yes, I'm fully aware there will be women out there who don't give a shit about this stuff. Some of them even enjoy it. You often see some, you often see some women more leaning towards the conservative and the right perspectives defending this stuff, and I do wonder if that is for other reasons. Oh, the left, they're just, they're so overzealous. So wizards are aware of this weird undercurrent in nerd cultures, and they perhaps have overcorrected the other way that causes this sort of friction that breeds full-on animosity when it comes to Bear Scape. We've seen wizards before alter the posing and the clothing of women to make it less sexual or less overt in modern times. One of my favourites of this, and this is quite an old one with time spirals, how Safi Eriksdottir was changed. She used to be pretty damn thick, as Amazonian found out and posted on Twitter a while back. Some serious cake. But they opted to reduce this down for her final art in Time Spiral. And whilst I must admit I am a big fan of that cake, I can see how this is often the right way to take your game. Again, this thick booty, they're not trying to hide it from the children to protect them. They're trying to make the game not just about men leering over women, as a lot of culture and modern society has been for the longest time. In many ways, it's to stop the game from just degenerating into a self-masturbatory jerk fest of incel bullshit. Like, Magic's pretty good compared to other card games in terms of not being that gross. Magic has an image problem. Imagine how worse it would be if we allowed big titty mummies of Digimon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Alongside God knows what kind of altars and fucking sleeves at events. So to loop back round to the topic of Bear Scape, these romantically involved bears are not sexualized overtly. There is an element of whose gaze is the art directed by and inviting, which makes it different to if we saw scantily clad women grinding each other into dust. In many ways, I'm surprised it took this long for such a forward-thinking, progressive game and company like Wizards and Magic to depict gay relationships overtly on cards like this. It took a long fucking time. I personally love the fact that we now have openly gay couples engaging with one another in shows of affection on Magic cards. Remember, this is the company in the game where Chandra and Nissa were being shipped thanks to constant suggestions within the game's art and story, only for creative teams to force Chandra to be the straightest, most hetero planeswalker there is, only being into, and I quote, decidedly masculine men. It was queerbaiting, and it's something that Wizards have openly admitted to and apologised for since. And it's fantastic to see representation that goes beyond, oh, by the way, Tomik is gay, instead of showing it on the game pieces themselves. Telling us a character fits some demographic to appear inclusive allows companies to avoid censorship of their game in other countries. To actually depict displays of affection between gay couples is a huge leap forward. And I cannot stress this enough either, but seeing yourself represented in the games you play and the stories you engage with is absolutely massive in allowing you to live a fuller life and enjoy the things that you love more. A lot of angry men on Reddit and on Twitter might not understand this. They may just be looking for titillation in their favourite game, and they've always seen themselves in their hobbies and the art and the media that they've been involved in. They've already seen themselves for years, for their entire lives, in the heroes that they look up to. So to that, I say Bear Scape is a huge step forward, and in many ways, it's brave of Wizards. Again, credit where credit is due. It's a fucking shame it ended up being such a Rorschach test for the community, allowing a lot of people to show their biases and internalized homophobia. And then beyond this, I guess we should talk about Wizards tripping over themselves, trying to explain why they aren't going to sell this in Latin America. Here's a live depiction of the apology.
Tomara que a Júlia seja muito feliz com a escolha dela.
Interestingly, the secret lair is blocked in South America. Both the article and story attached to this are all blocked, as is the sale of the secret lair in places like Brazil. However, let's be clear, there is no legal reason for this to be blocked. The Wizards' apology that they wheeled out was fucking Bizarro World for this shit, saying that a 13+ age rating comes with a lot of regional challenges. I guess, but they don't quite get things right without explicitly admitting fault or saying what they got wrong in this circumstance. How they are proud of the secret lair, and some other words in support of LGBTQ communities. It's an apology that doesn't apologise for anything. It's just a fucking non-statement. It's just the weirdest chain of tweets that didn't explain anything I've seen out of Wizards in a long fucking time. It's crazy shit. Twitter user Incorrect Energy Quotes point out that even the nudity of topless men would not push a product in the country of Brazil beyond a 12+ rating. This is all just fucking madness. My first guess, and this is the obvious cynical thing, is that they will only sell the secret lair in regions where they will definitely make money on it, and the money they're making in other regions may not be worth, it may not offset the reputational risk or the damage to the brand in those regions if they get picked up by conservative media and press. And this is one of the overwhelming issues we see with causes like this, with Pride merchandise in general. It's only utilised when profitable. It's only utilised perhaps as a performance. I've spoken to a few people about this. One of the people I've spoken to the most, who I also got to read this script and have a bit of like almost like a writer's credit, so thank you, Tom, is Tom, one of my Discord modders. They're one of my patrons, and they've become a friend over time. Even if they never watch any of my videos anymore, the fucking piece of shit. I hope you watch this one. He had strong opinions on the performative nature of Secret Lair.
It's just like, is buying this and celebrating it this way a license to be given crumbs for 11 out of 12 months and then appealed to when it spins some cash? Like, I don't know, delaying Hoatli and Sahili's relationship in canon so they have some gay article to drop to build hype for Pride Month secret lairs, and like potentially delaying one of the few like older explicitly LGBT plus cards to use as a mystery card in this secret lair. I just don't know, like, is me buying this saying that I think it's okay to be ignored until it's acceptable? We have to remember that Wizards have actively suppressed gay identities within their game and canon in recent years. And having this kind of representation in a secret lair makes it easier for them to cordon it off and to sanitize the product for sale elsewhere. We don't see a big gay wedding in Crimson Vow. Instead, we have that in the secret lair, where they can easily hide that from regions and areas where it might cause reputational risk and damage to the brand. But this is where it starts to bug me personally, is that I don't think it's very fucking brave or supportive to only support or to only be an ally when there is literal zero risk to you or your profit margin. We see this all the fucking time with shitty companies adopting the pride flag and then dropping it later and ignoring it for 11 months out of the year. Wizards are, to their credit, giving 50% of the proceeds to the Trevor Project, but I've always been a bit frustrated that only 50% goes to the charities supported by the charity lairs. This happened with the International Women's Day one, among others as well, that I actually bought, and I think honestly, if they really gave a shit, the split could be a lot more generous for the charities, lest they be accused of wearing allyship as a mask to get you to part with your dollars. However, credit where credit is due, the Trevor Project is a fantastic cause. I've linked to it in the description down below. I've already donated, as you can see on screen here, I've donated £80 to the cause today as well. Basically, that's going to be well over 50% of the ad revenue. There's probably closer to 80% of the ad revenue for this video if it does well, which is funny because I'm a self-employed YouTuber, not a billion-dollar corporation. Something Tom also wanted to add as we discussed the script and these ideas a bit more and didn't put in their audio quote to make my life a little bit harder is that they are happy that this happened. They are glad that this exists. There's an important note here. There is a conflict in being seen for the first time or seeing yourself for the first time in something that you love, and then if it doesn't feel like enough, you then maybe feel ungrateful. But you do need to ask, is this enough? This secret lair will mean so much to so many people. And anyone with a heart, anyone with any sense of fucking compassion should be happy to see this kind of thing in their games. But it's right to be able to say that you're happy to see it, but also criticize the method and the actions of the company doing it, especially when it's a company and a corporation that's making money hand over fucking fist. So to summarise, I genuinely believe the sexualisation of big gay men in Bear Scape is very much in the eye of the beholder. I would go as far as to say that I would attribute that sexualisation in the eye of the beholder to internalised homophobia. Stereotypes that have been propped up by like a systemic issue with how gay people and gay men are represented in media. We are of the generation that grew up with that shit and we're just trying to outgrow it now. And I also feel this is quite performative when we don't see them take a stand against the potential backlash of the Southern American countries too. And that's a point to labour a little bit as well, is that it's not just the fact that they are like dodging any criticism there from news media outlets of the countries that are a bit less accepting of this stuff, although none of these countries outlaw gay marriage, that's a point too. But like, South America gets the raw end of the stick anyway, right? I've seen it before, I've retweeted stuff of them just getting fucked over by announcements, secret lair shipping costs, and all sorts. So then to see like the gay communities of those countries get fucked over as well, it's kind of tragic. It doesn't seem like the kind of thing that an ally would do. I want to say that I want to hear what you have to think in the comment section below. I always do, I read my comments a lot. But I more so want to hear the opinions of those that are represented within this secret lair. I want to know if you feel like this does feel like a performance, if this does feel like a cash grab, and all of the, like, you know, to benefit and to profit from it, or whether being seen is a very positive thing and you think that outweighs all of it. And I also want to say as well, just because you're not fitting into the LGBTQ plus like sort of categories, like white men like myself, I'm not going to be a hypocrite and say your opinion doesn't matter. But what I do want to say is perhaps talk with the people who are represented, and I mean talk as well. I mean, like, fucking listen to their perspective, because it might inform yours a bit more, because it might be like your first gut feeling on this is not the most important. I wasn't sure whether I should make a video on this because it is an issue that doesn't affect me specifically, but I also feel there's an obligation when you have a platform and communities that involve these people, especially, that you kind of need to shine a torch to this sort of stuff, give some people some voices, ask what they think, and then incorporate it into this stuff. I've seen other creators so that they don't care if you're offended by the Bear Scape thing, they're just going to carry on regardless. And to me, that just sounds like a dog whistle for allowing hate. I hope you found this video interesting. I hope I didn't do it a disservice to the topic, and I hope some of it was thought-provoking too. I really hope that I didn't go too hard on calling you all incels if you didn't like Bear Scape. Although I'm sure some of you haven't listened to a word I said either, so what can you do? Thanks to Tom, especially, for helping me to double check the script and give me the quote and talking to me about this as well. Thank you to the other people that I didn't end up using quotes for, and I'm not going to name you here, but you know who you are. You can comment down below if you want to as well. Thanks for watching, everybody. Trevor Project, link down below. I'll see you all soon. It's time for now.